Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Islamic State of Iran is today witnessing scores of protests by Muslim women in the country against the decades-old regressive practice of covering their heads with hijab. But in India, it's a shame that the hijab is today being glorified by a few. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are those who see this regressive practice as a symbol of a woman's dignity and are today preaching that when a former prime minister or a president can cover their heads with the pallu, then there should be no shame in seeing hijab as a symbol of a woman's dignity. The Muslim side lawyer Dushyan Dave in Supreme Court today challenged the hijab ban. He contended that hijab is a symbol of dignity and women who wear it look very dignified. His argument was countered by judges and the Solicitor General, who tried to instill some sense in the Muslim advocate and said that the definition of dignity had changed with time. Perhaps Mr. Dave must heed to that suggestion today. And ladies and gentlemen, Dushyan Dave is not alone. There are others who are still slaves of the age-old regressive practices. Listen in.
इंदिरा गांधी के सर पे पल्लो है, प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया के सर पे पल्लो है, वो जो घूंघट उनके सर पे है वो भी क्या पीएफआई की साजिश है क्या? कुछ ना कुछ बोलते हैं आप। भाई भारत की संस्कृति है, सर पे पल्लो डालना, दुपट्टा डालना भारत की संस्कृति है, भारत का इतिहास है। कित्तूर चन्नम्मा के सर पे था, उसको तुम हिजाब बोलो, पल्लो बोलो, एक ही है।
Viewers, the likes of Dave and Ibrahim are clearly oblivious to the fact that Muslim women themselves are today raising their voice against the age-old diktat. They don't want to be coerced into wearing the hijab. A revolution has started in an Islamic nation such as Iran against forced hijab. A 22-year-old girl, Mahsa Amini, was killed by the hijab police. Another elderly woman was shot in the head for daring to protest against the hijab. For them, hijab is not a choice, nor is it a symbol of dignity. For them, it's a noose of regression that killed them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is really the voices of Muslim women who have exercised their right to choose. They ask, why is their dress directly linked to a morality? Without a hijab or without a pallu, is a woman not dignified?
ये मेरा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट है और एजुकेशनल राइट भी है और ये मेरा रिलीजियस राइट भी है कि मैं जो पहनना चाहूँ मैं पहन सकूँ।
जो ईरान में हो रहा है वो उनका पॉलिटिकल व्यू है। अभी वही चीज़ हम इंडिया में ऐसे लिए जाए तो वो मुझे ठीक नहीं लगता है।
उनका एक अलग लॉ है, दे आर अ मुस्लिम कंट्री, वो लोग अपना लॉ फॉलो करें, लेकिन एज वी आर इन इंडिया हमें ये देखना है कि हमारा लॉ क्या है। जहाँ पे हमें हमारा हक नहीं मिल रहा है वहाँ हम हमारे हक के लिए आवाज़ उठाएंगे, और जहाँ पे हमें हमारा हक मिल रहा है तो हम हमारा हक और हमारी चीज़ें, हमारी थॉट्स दूसरों पर लागू नहीं करेंगे।
So the legitimate question we are asking on the Newshour tonight, can a whale define a woman's dignity? That's the question and that's the debate. Hijab dignity analogy. That's the debate and the hashtag on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining me tonight on the debate, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Rahul Ishwar, activist, Shoaib Jamai, president of the India Muslim Foundation, Abdul Razak Khan, political analyst, Dr. Lubna Kamaal, assistant professor at the Jawaharlal Nehru of Homeopathy College in Lucknow. But my first question goes to Dr. Zeenat Shaukat Ali, Islamic scholar. Dr. Zeenat Shaukat Ali, I don't know if I were to look at you through the lens of Mr. Dushyan Dave, the lawyer for the Muslim side, I would probably think that you're not a dignified woman because you don't have a hijab on your head. And Lubna ji is a dignified woman because उन्होंने तो hijab पहना हुआ है. मैंने साड़ी पहना है, पल्लू नहीं डाला सर पे, मैं भी डिग्निफाइड नहीं हूं। नो, इज दिस something that you and I can accept? Are they going to decide how dignity has to be defined? Anybody in a shirt, a jacket is not dignified, but somebody in a hijab is. Is this totally unacceptable?
I agree with you. It is an absurd argument. It sounds like, when somebody is in a battle that is really being lost. This is the last kind of, recourse. This kind of language is the last kind of recourse that one takes. There are different forms of dignity. There are different kinds of dignity, and all of us are dignified. In the first instance, what is dignity? It is a personal quality of being worthy of honor. And how does, a dress define that? It is a stateliness that you carry with yourself. It is a respect. It is a quality that makes you poised and full of decorum. And it is something that gives you merit. It gives you grandeur. It gives you authority. It gives you rank. It gives you office. It gives you self-respect, and it gives you a high repartee. Now, all this is something that one defines as a dictionary meaning, and a meaning, a very soulful meaning of dignity as it is carried for women. Now, whether you wear a sari, or whether you wear a hijab, or whether you wear, a Christian dress, or whatever may be the manner in which it is the manner in which you conduct yourself, in which the way your manners are, in which the way you address others. It is the way of your breeding. How you
absolutely. Dignity can be expressed in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you address people. मुझे तो शोएब जमाई साहब लग रहा है आप इंडिया मुस्लिम फाउंडेशन से है और आपने सर नहीं ढका हुआ। मेरे हिसाब से आप भी डिग्निफाइड नहीं है। आप सर ढकिए, नहीं तो ये क्या मतलब है? खाली औरतें सर ढका करेंगी और आप नहीं ढकेंगे, वो हमें तो आप भी डिग्निफाइड नहीं लग रहे।
नाविका, let me make it clear that I am absolutely convinced what
मर्दों को भी तो ढकने का हुक्म है। अब वो सऊदी अरब में आप जाइए, वो सारे उन्होंने पहने होते हैं, आप क्यों नहीं पहनते? नहीं, आप क्यों नहीं पहनते हैं? आपकी डिग्निटी कहाँ है?
Should I continue? Yeah. Navika, let me confirm that I am very absolutely convinced what the Shaukat Zeenat Ali said that dignity cannot be defined what a woman choose to wear. Absolutely right. And I also believe that Iran as a country has no match with the grandeur, secularism and the democratic concept of the India. India is far superior in the concept of democracy, secularism, right to choice. लेकिन सवाल ये उठता है कि जो काम आज ईरान कर रहा है कि वो जबरदस्ती कर रहा है, राइट टू चॉइस को इन्फ्रिंज कर रहा है और कह रहा है कि नहीं, इस लड़की को हिजाब पहनना ही पड़ेगा वरना हम इसको गिरफ्तार कर लेंगे। वही काम राइट टू चॉइस में इन्फ्रिंजमेंट कर्नाटक की सरकार या पूरी मीडिया वैगन या बीजेपी की लॉबी या प्रो बीजेपी लॉबी कर रही है कि लड़कियों को वो चला रही है, कह रही कि नहीं, तुम हिजाब नहीं पहन सकते हो, अगर पहनोगे तो तुमको स्कूल से नहीं निकाल देंगे, तुमको डिप्राइव कर देंगे राइट टू एजुकेशन से। और 17,000 मुसलमान लड़की आज बीजेपी की इस जिद की वजह से कि तुम अगर हिजाब पहन के आओगी तो बेटी मैं तुमको स्कूल में पढ़ने नहीं दूंगा, तुमको निकाल दूंगा स्कूल से। आज 17,000 बेटियां स्कूलों से बाहर निकल गई हैं, उनका करियर खत्म हो गया। क्या इसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी प्राइम मिनिस्टर लेंगे या जो लोग यहां वुमेन राइट्स की बात करते हैं वो लेंगे? कौन लेगा उसकी जिम्मेदारी उन 17,000 लड़के? क्या किसी
वो धर्म के ठेकेदार जो उन्हें डरा धमका कर हिजाब के जो उसमें जकड़ रहे हैं वो लेंगे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी।
अच्छा, एक मिनट,
आप फैक्ट्स पर अगर बात कर रहे हैं तो मैं फैक्ट बता दूं। आपने कहा बीजेपी की सरकार। भाई साहब, शायद आपको पता नहीं है कि ये कर्नाटका के हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर था।
पहले ऑर्डर बीजेपी की गवर्नमेंट नहीं लाया था,
वो तो स्कूल में लगाई थी। फिर स्कूल में लगाई, शुरुआत
तो वहीं से हुई ना।
अब मैं पूछना चाहती हूं, लेट मी आस्क डॉक्टर आनंद रंगनाथन, डॉक्टर आनंद, एक मिनट,
आपके पैकेज में 2 लड़की थी, मुस्लिम लड़की थी, नकाब पहनी हुई थी, पूरा सिर्फ उसका आंख दिख रहा था, इंग्लिश में बोल रही थी। उस इंग्लिश में पढ़ी लिखी लड़की को क्या आपको लगता है किसी मौलवी मौलाना ने फोर्स किया होगा ये बोलने के लिए?
अच्छा, मुझे ये बता दीजिए,
मेरा राइट है,
I want to ask
मैं
you,
पहनना चाहती हूँ, आप क्या करेंगे उसके लिए?
Will that girl,
Are you with that girl or not? जो आपके पैकेज में यहाँ से बोल रही
थी। Can I ask, you know, I'm the anchor of the show,
yes,
can I ask you the question?
Yes, of
I want to ask you, can that girl with the hijab be a police officer tomorrow? Can she be a pilot tomorrow?
Yes, of course.
Are you clipping her wings even before she
yes,
can take
course.
flight? No,
yes.
she can't. Because there is a uniform, my friend.
No.
There is a uniform that she will have to wear, and in the uniform.
But she can also wear hijab because
in the uniform there is no hijab. So Anand Ranganathan,
in
ये
Pakistan
देश
Air
को
Force,
certificate
in
दे रहे हैं.
Pakistan Air Force, women are flying the aircraft, and they are wearing the hijab. In the Qatar Airways, so many women pilots are flying the aircraft, and they are wearing the hijab.
And Qatar,
the question.
you know, after
They won the Olympic gold medal. They are
Navika,
professors, they are engineers, they are biotechnology. In my
जमाई
lab,
साहब, आप
in my
इतने भी
lab,
डिग्निफाइड नहीं है कि पूरे डिबेट में सिर्फ आप ही बोलेंगे, क्योंकि आपने सर नहीं ढका हुआ है। एक मिनट,
are you with that those girl or not?
इस वक्त सर भी ढकिए और थोड़ा सा मुंह भी ढक लीजिए, क्योंकि आनंद रंगनाथन से सवाल पूछ रही हूँ। आनंद रंगनाथन, my question to you is simply this, that a uniform actually is not only for concealing religion, it's also for concealing the economic status. And therefore, in schools and junior college, if the children are wearing uniforms, there should be uniforms so that they cannot be differentiated on the basis of the clothes they wear, whether they are cotton or whether they are some other material, the rich or the poor, the Muslim or the Hindu. There should be no differentiation. But why do people like Mr. Shoaib Jamai now begin to talk about Qatar and Pakistan when Iran is not an example for them, because wahan to women are cutting their hair and cutting their hijabs. So that is an example that he will not give. Why is there such selectivism?
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Navika, first up, before I come to the thrust of my thesis, can I just say that here I do agree with Shoaib Bhai, but I have a different argument that I'll come to later. Yes, of course, any school or a college has a prerogative to prescribe a uniform, but then all religious identities must be concealed. There should be no double standards. I'll come to that in a minute. But can I please begin with telling you that there are two issues here, and we must delve into them one by one. Number one, on this lawyer, Mr. Dushyan Dave, arguing for the hijab to be allowed, honestly, he was as coherent as the Punjab Chief Minister about the Lufthansa flight yesterday. I didn't know that the Jodha Akbar Memorial WhatsApp University has started dispersing BA LLB degrees. He needs to be careful, because if his other clients heard his ridiculous support arguments, they will plead before the judge, my lord, हमने हमारे वकील साहब को सुना है, हम अपने आप ही अपना केस लड़ लेंगे, my lord, उनकी जरूरत नहीं है. Seriously, Navika, if I was hell, I would have advised him, Dave, the law may be an ass, but that is no reason for a lawyer to behave like one, Dave. I mean, Navika, where to begin? We are living in an age of wokeism, victimhood, selectivity and political correctness, and no one exemplified it as much as Dave did today. Has he been jabbed with an anti-vax vaccine instead of Covishield? Islam, he says, came to India without conquering. Really? Akbar, he says, was mellow. Really? The Ghazi of Chittor and the man who ordered non-hijab wearing women into prostitution was mellow. Sabrimala, he says, was discrimination. Really? There are many Hindu temples where men are barred entry, and there are many Sabrimala temples where women are allowed entry. It was only in this particular Sabrimala temple that because of the vow of the deity, menstruating women in a particular age bracket were not allowed on entry. And as for menstruating women, does he know that it is forbidden for a menstruating woman to touch Quran, recite a verse, enter mosque, do salat, perform tawaf, fast, have sex, 56, 79, 222 and Hadith Sharif. So are you going to redact all these verses? This man, Dushyan Dave, wants to liberate Hindu women. But cat gets his tongue when it comes to allowing entry of Muslim women into mosques or ordaining women as Catholic priests. Navika, very briefly, point number 2. I have said this before, that while hijab or a burqa is an oppressive symbol of misogyny or patriarchy, you may deem it. The holy book is very clear on how a woman should dress. Quote, and tell the believing women to reduce their vision and guard their private parts and to wrap their head covers over their chests and not expose their adornment except to their husbands, fathers or males having no physical desire. 24:31 quote, O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers to bring down over themselves part of the outer garments that is more suitable, that they will be known and not be abused. 33:59. So every true Muslim woman, Navika, has to adhere to this dress code. Finally, 30 seconds. There should be one rule, as I said, and no duplicity in implementing it. So a school can ban hijab because it has a specific rule of a uniform, but it cannot then at the same time allow unconcealed janehu, kada, cross, circumcised organ or a turban. If a school allows for dress codes or identities of other religions, it has to allow for Islam. No duplicity.
Well, I want to ask you, where in all this, Abdul Razak Khan, is the issue of dignity? I want to ask you, dignity being defined by the clothes you wear? You know, next we'll begin to say that you can't have a beard also because it's not dignified. You should also cover your head. You know, dignity argument. I have a fundamental problem with the dignity argument. And besides that, of course, by insisting on the hijab, when several Islamic countries are doing away with it, I see this as a design to fetter women, to bring them down, to not give them the options of several professions that they can actually excel at if uniform is something that is going to come in their way. So Abdul Razak Khan, what is it that you want? Are you bringing in the issue of dignity? You know, it was said by Shakespeare, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. So why is dignity being related to clothes,
right,
and why? And why are women being kept away from certain professions because uniform is what could take them forward? Abdul Razak Khan.
First of all, Navika ji, these arguments have been heard by the Supreme Court from the past 8 days, and for your information, this is not the only primary submission from the advocate Dushyan Dave. This is an additional submission along with many other submissions.
But it is a submission.
Now, secondly, what I would like to tell you is...
It is a submission, and therefore I have an objection.
Yeah, it is a submission.
As a woman, I object to this.
Yes,
Zeenat Shaukat objects to this. So whether it is an additional or a primary, how does it matter? It is a submission.
The most dignified woman... Let me tell you the names of some of the most dignified women like Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai, like Pandita Ramabai Saraswati, like Modi ji's mother, Hiraben, like Mother Teresa. There are many women who prefer to wear a headscarf, like President Pratibha Patil. I am saying it does not mean that somebody who is not wearing is not dignified. Somebody who wants to practice their religion in the way they want, we are so much tolerant that we are tolerating a Brahmin boy who comes inside the classroom having his head shaved with vermilion, with some kind of white naam on his forehead. We are tolerant to entertain him. We are tolerant to entertain a Sikh community boy who comes with a patka or a turban. Why are we so much intolerant when it comes to the matter of a Muslim girl who has been practicing parda right from her childhood, and it has been prescribed in the holy book?
The reason is very simply, the reason is which are the symbols or which are the practices that are essential to a religion and which are not essential to a religion.
It is
who decides
that? The court will decide.
Who decides that? Navika, it is written in the Quran.
What is essential?
Navika, it is written in the religious book.
It is
I have quoted to you the
Quran decides whether
I have quoted to you the Holy Quran. Now, who are we to say that what is written in the Quran is not essential? Is it for us to decide that?
My question is, are we in the वैसे तो सती था, वैसे तो there are many things that were said in our scriptures as conventions that widows will not eat with the rest of the family. Those kind of rituals.
Sati was opposed by the Hindu community itself. It was the social, rectification.
So
इसमें कोर्ट का कोई लेना देना नहीं था.
So Zeenat Shaukat Ali is not from the religion itself. Zeenat Shaukat Ali.
She is also dignified. She is also dignified. Ask other panelists, other women panelists. She is also dignified.
Will
say that she is not dignified?
Will you want to conduct the debate, or can I bring in Zeenat Shaukat Ali? Zeenat Shaukat Ali, will a hijab decide what a woman can or cannot do, and whether she is dignified or not? And is hijab keeping women in the Muslim community a little behind the other women? Yes or no? Please give me an honest answer.
Of course not.
You see, the entire perspective that has been taken. You see, first of all, the Muslim community does not have a very high level of education. And there is, this line, very strong line drawn, that this is as far as you can go, and this is what you do, and this is what you don't do. Those restrictions are very strong on women and on the girls, and less on the men. So there is no doubt about that. And I've seen from a very young age, from the age of 3 to the age of 5, I have seen in schools, girls are wearing long sleeves, girls are wearing veils. Now this is a misinterpretation. I do not agree at all with Dr. Ranganathan. Let me be absolutely clear on this fact, that his interpretation of Islam is more like Zakir Naik and mine is not. So but that is a different debate, and we can have that debate at some other time. This is not the time, Dr. Ranganathan. But I'm simply saying that the entire interpretation and understanding goes in that direction. So here you do find that Muslim girls are, they may want, they're very highly intelligent children. I'm attached to a Muslim school, and I can tell you that the children are brilliant. But there is that line drawn that this far, this is
Navika, my name's been taken. Can I please come in? Navika, my name has been taken. 10 seconds. Navika.
Yes,
Navika,
Mr.
10
Zakir
seconds.
Naik, as she called you. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Navika, please. Navika.
Yes, Mr. Zakir Naik.
Yes.
You have a choice.
Navika. Navika,
sorry, Anand Ranganathan, you've been called Zakir Naik by Zeenat Shaukat
Is
Ali.
anybody questioning you, madam?
Navika, can I please? Abdul Razak sahab, please, आपको अच्छा लगेगा जो मैं कहने वाला हूँ. Please सुन लीजिए. Interrupt मत
Please don't interrupt.
I did interrupt.
Yeah.
I did interrupt.
I am with you, brother. Tonight I am with you. You have said right thing.
She has a choice.
When you say the right thing, you will be called Zakir Naik.
Navika, can I please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Look, I say it again. I never interpret the Holy Quran's verses. I only quote them. And मैं जाकिर नायक नहीं हूं, मैं जाकिर नायक मेरे गुरु हैं. यहां पे आपके पैनल पे 4 मुस्लिम हैं, उनमें से एक मिस अली हैं. वो कह रही हैं मैं गलत हूं कि 24:31 और 33:59 वर्सेस ये नहीं बताती कि विमेन को कैसे ड्रेस होना चाहिए. बाकी 3 मुस्लिम हैं, एक शोएब भाई है, एक रजाक भाई है और एक और मेरी मुस्लिम बहन है. उन तीनों से पूछिए, क्या 24:31 और 33:59 ये नहीं कहती कि विमेन को कैसे ड्रेस होना चाहिए? पूछिए उनसे. पूछिए अल्लाह ने कहा कि नहीं कहा.
That is the advice.
प्लीज पूछिए.
मैं जवाब नहीं. एक मिनट, जीनत साहिबा,
मतलब बार-बार मुझे गलत कहने का कुछ नहीं है.
1 minute. Zeenat is responding. Zeenat Shaukat Ali is responding. Abdul Razak Khan, मेरे भाई, I'm coming to you. Zeenat.
Get into that. We are not here. We are talking about dignity, and I think it's a very important issue that Navika ji has raised, and we should stick to that issue and not get into these interpretations without understanding the background, sir.
Shoaib bhai may agree with you, but Zeenat Shaukat Ali is coming from the position, and allow me to understand this as a woman. It is the conservativeness that is held
thinking.
1 minute. 1 minute. Conservativeness which comes down from generation to generation, that sometimes women are conditioned in a manner to think that yes, hijab is the only way, and if they don't go that way, then it is probably going to be sacrilege. So Lubna ji, I want to get in Miss Lubna. And Dr. Lubna, the issue here is dignity of a woman going to be described by the hijab that she wears or any clothes that she wears? Are you saying Muslim women who do not wear a hijab are not dignified, and Hindu women today working in many professions today who don't wear a pallu or a ghungat on their head are all undignified and loose charactered as some would describe them? I'm asking you that question.
Madam, you are wearing a top and a bottom, right? What if I asked you to remove your bottom?
I'm wearing a sari and a blouse. I'm wearing a sari and a blouse. I'm not wearing a top and a bottom.
Yes, along with that.
Shoaib Bhai is wearing a top and a bottom.
Yes. By top, I mean a blouse. I mean a blouse only. So, if I ask you to remove your blouse or your top, how will you feel?
1 minute.
Tell me as a woman, how will you feel? So that is the same position with some girls who have been taught to wear a hijab right from the 3 or 5 years of age. That is the part of their personality now. You cannot ask them to remove hijab now when they are 15 or 16.
So you are saying, Lubna, Dr. Lubna, you are saying they have been taught. They have been
Just
taught.
Let me complete.
Which means free will. Free will. What about free will?
Let me complete. No. Do not interfere, madam. Do not interfere. Let me complete. Most of the girls going to government colleges, government schools belong to the low socio-economic status. They are from very poor families, and yes, they have been taught. They have been brainwashed. They might have been brainwashed. Yes, definitely. So, but what trouble is it causing? If a turban is not causing a problem, why should a hijab cause so much of trouble? The second thing is that you said that men over here should cover their heads. Madam, it is not required. Men have to guard their gaze. They have to watch their sight.
So इनकी आंखों पे पट्टी बांध दीजिए.
They are not
women will not have to wear a hijab. If men wear a patti on their eyes, women will not have to wear a hijab.
This is not argument. This is not the way a debate goes.
No panelist is a stalker here. That's why we don't need patti.
Like that.
No panelist is a stalker here.
Women should wear hijab.
No. हमने कहा उनसे किसी से, मैं अली जी से कह रहा हूँ कि आप हिजाब पहनिए, नहीं कह रहे, लेकिन आप हमारी बेटियों से कह रहे हो कि तुम हिजाब नहीं पहनो, यानी आप जबरदस्ती और जिद कर रहे हो।
नहीं पहनो, बाकी जहाँ मर्जी पहनो।
अरे भाई
स्कूल में मत पहनो भाई,
फिर स्कूल में यहाँ से कड़ा भी मत पहनो, स्कूल में टर्बन भी मत पहनो। और एसेंशियलिटी और नॉन एसेंशियलिटी का क्राइटेरिया देखिए, इस पर तय नहीं होता कि कितने लोग उस फेथ को प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं। बहुत सारी लोग नमाज नहीं भी पढ़ रहे हैं, तो क्या ये मुसलमान नहीं है? लेकिन वो फेथ का ये होता है कि कितना वो प्रैक्टिसिंग है और कितना नॉन प्रैक्टिसिंग। दूसरी बात, आनंद जी से मैं सहमत हूं, उन्होंने कुरान में कहा कि ये कुरान में चीजें लिखो। बेशक जो बातें कुरान में लिखी है वो लाजिम है, जो हदीस में लिखी वो सुन्नत है, उसको कोई नहीं बदल सकता। हाँ, मेरे ऊपर चॉइस है, मेरा फ्री विल है, मैं उसको कितना मानता हूं या नहीं मानता हूं। मेरे प्रैक्टिस करने और ना प्रैक्टिस करने से किसी का एसेंशियलिटी और नॉन एसेंशियलिटी का क्राइटेरिया तय नहीं होता है। ये बात जान लीजिए आप।
He is saying the freedom is mine, the freedom is his, or is the hijab being imposed on younger girls? I want to ask
Navika ji, just two submissions. I'm not a scholar or a scientist like Dr. Anand ji, but at the same point of time, as a self-confessed Gandhian and the Hindu-Muslim unity Wadi, I would like to point out two things. One, the spirit of Holy Quran 24:31 is, and tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their modesty. The core submission is modesty. And Holy Quran rightly points out modesty. Every religion, whether it be Hindu, Christian or Muslim, believes in the idea of modesty. Sir, please. And please, I would request my Muslim brothers, I'm an ordinary conservative Hindu. I'm not a progressive person. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a scientist. As an ordinary conservative, faithful Hindu, I would request my Muslim brothers let our conservative or faithful interpret, understand our religious text in a context of time too. For example, here Lubna ma'am is sitting. She is not covering her entire face. She is using a very modest dress. So please remember, the crux is modesty. Mahatma Gandhi in 1947, Fatehpur Sikri, when he was asked about Parda, our father of the nation pointed out, I go so far as to say that Holy Quran does not mention any specific dress code, but only uphold the ideal of modesty. Now please, only one request. Let us not interrupt our lead.
Rahul Ishwar, everyone is saying.
Come back to the question. I come back to the question. Who is to define modesty? Who is to define dignity? And Dr. Lubna. Dr. Lubna. No, but that is the argument in court. The argument in court.
माँ बाप अपने बच्चे को एक संस्कार देते हैं. हिंदू माँ बाप अपने बच्चों को संस्कार देते हैं. आपकी माँ ने अपने आपको संस्कार दिए.
इजाजत रखती है.
मुसलमानों के माँ बाप ने अपने बच्चों को संस्कार दिए. हर किसी का कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी है. आर्टिकल 29, 30, आर्टिकल 19, आर्टिकल 24.
वो रखिए.
राइट टू चॉइस, राइट टू प्राइवेसी, राइट टू एजुकेशन, राइट टू कल्चर. कहाँ जाएगा ये? बिकॉज स्कूल में पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी है, प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी नहीं है. वो स्कूल इज अ पब्लिक स्कूल. टैक्स पेयर का मनी जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल है उसमें टैक्स पेयर.
1 minute.
डायरेक्ट और इनडायरेक्ट.
1 minute.
Institutional rights higher.
Let me speak.
Individual rights higher. And court has pointed out.
Either make the school religion neutral. No Bhagavad Gita. No यहाँ से उसमें कोई उसमें प्रेयर नहीं होगा.
Bhagavad Gita being taught in any of the schools?
पूजा नहीं होगी.
Where is
either make the
where is
school
the Bhagavad Gita in schools? Where is the Bhagavad Gita in schools? You know, are you equating Bhagavad? अच्छा, Bhagavad Gita नहीं. अगर Bhagavad Gita नहीं पढ़ाएंगे तो क्या हिजाब ऑप्शनल हो जाएगी? ज़ीनत शौकत अली, is this some question?
अगर मुझे भगवत गीता पढ़ने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है नाविका जी, तो आपको कुरान पढ़ने में क्या दिक्कत होगी?
कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मुझे कोई दिक्कत
नहीं है. Either make the school religion neutral. किसी का धर्म नहीं पढ़ाया जाएगा, सिर्फ राष्ट्रगान हो और ज़ीनत. 1
minute, please allow me to moderate this debate.
Why is Zeenat kicking?
Because your brother Shoaib Jamai doesn't allow you
Zeenat
to talk.
Is getting...
Okay, you make your statement. I want to ask you, are you going to keep certain professions away from women, and are women who don't wear hijabs not dignified? Just answer these two questions.
Madam, in UK, it is part of the police uniform now. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
The second thing is that I teach in a medical college. My Hindu colleague, she went to the college once wearing jeans and she was not allowed. She was asked by the principal to not come into jeans. So do you think if girls start coming in minis or mini skirts or shorts, there won't be any reactions? Just leave women's dress alone. Why is it always under scrutiny? Let me wear whatever I want. Let me remove whatever I want. I stand with the Karnataka girls as well and the Iranian girls. I stand with both of them.
Of course.
Zeenat Shaukat Ali.
Now,
see, the point is that, when your mind is made up, and when, as you said, you're taught when you're a child that this is the only way things can function, then it is very difficult for anyone to explain this. It is how we understand our scripture. It is how we define our modesty. It is how we conduct ourselves with dignity. I did not interrupt you, madam. I know you're a very, very learned scholar, and I'm very, very small scholar before you. You are too learned. You know better than Imam Mutlaq from Saudi Arabia. You know better than Imam Tahtawi, who have not considered this kind of an outfit as a necessity or an essential part of Islam. But you consider it. So you are more learned than them. I am not as learned as you are, but I am still entitled to my very humble opinion.
You don't know the difference between Fard and Wajib.
And that is that when you train
I corrected you yesterday on another debate.
When your child has to face the world, it is like, when we are talking about madrasa education also, that the imam has to learn scientifically so that he can work in the wider world. So similarly, when girls are exposed and they have to take position, there are some people who are inborn to work in the army, They are very good at that. There are some girls who are inborn to work in the police, and they're very good at that. There are some girls who are inborn to work, in the judiciary, and they're very good at that. So this should not hamper the progress.
Absolutely, my point. My point.
Do you know, ma'am? I came from madrasa background. Then later on, I earned a PhD degree in cancer biology. As my doctor friend, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, he is also from the same field. He is my senior colleague. But I came from the madrasa background. It does not hinder me to earn a doctorate degree. With a 37 paper in international publications.
One minute. Anand Ranganathan.
She is also a doctor.
My question, Anand Ranganathan, is if women are wearing hijab in the current context in India, what is happening in the UK and Saudi Arabia is not the subject matter of this debate. I am asking you, will certain professions then be out of the reach of these women? And in a modern country like ours, should this conditioning actually determine how far and what they want to do with their lives? Because we've conditioned them in a certain manner. That's the only simple question I'm asking.
Absolutely. Let me answer it. Before that, let me please slightly correct my good friend Dr. Jamai, because it may seem, because I quote the verses, that I am from madrasa education, but मैंने madrasa नहीं पढ़ा हुआ है. लेकिन मैं clarify करना चाहता हूँ. But Navika, as to your question,
doctorate, PhD in biochemistry.
As for answering your question,
ये PhD आपने मदरसे में की थी?
After the madrasa.
तो मदरसे में तो डॉक्टर नहीं बन सकते ना?
After madrasa,
मदरसे में तो डॉक्टर नहीं बन सकते ना?
लेकिन मदरसा बैकग्राउंड से आए हुए बच्चे भी आगे चल के पढ़ सकते हैं. मदरसा एक बेसिक एजुकेशन है जो रिलीजियस टीचिंग और थियोलॉजी का पार्ट है, जिससे मैंने कुरान और हदीस सीखा. Then later on I do my schooling and then
डॉक्टर आनंद रंगनाथन ने बिना मदरसे गए सीख लिया. डॉक्टर आनंद रंगनाथन.
It's okay. Knowledge have no boundary. Everyone can learn.
Okay.
I also ask you to learn the Quran, even some verses, because you are doing debates on that.
Thank you for your advice,
so it would be easy for you to understand.
Thank you for your advice, but
Navika, you asked a very important and pointed question. Let me answer that in 30 seconds. No job, no profession is beyond any Muslim woman. Let me be absolutely clear on that. In our lab right now, from Dr. Jamai's Jamia Millia Islamia, there is a woman, exceedingly gifted scientist, who wears the whole burqa.
Yes.
And she is in no way less than any other woman scientist. Let me be very clear.
Exactly.
हम क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं यहाँ पे? हम डिबेट से हट क्यों रहे हैं? हम ये कह रहे हैं कि जब किसी रिलीजन में ये कहा गया है कि आपको ऐसे ड्रेस करना है, जो ट्रू बिलीवर है वो वैसे ड्रेस करेगा. आप डुप्लिसिटी मत लाइए. आप स्कूल में या तो रिलीजन, जैसे मैं कहता हूं, रिमूव ऑल रिलीजियस आइडेंटिटीज फ्रॉम द स्कूल, ऑल ऑफ देम. लेकिन if you introduce one, you have to introduce the other.
But Ranganathan, my question is not about a woman working in a lab. My question is about a woman working in the police force. My question is about a woman working in the Indian Air Force, in the Indian Army. Will she be allowed to wear a hijab? Because they say यूनिफॉर्म में हिजाब होना चाहिए. अभी तो नहीं है.
जब वो वहां जाएगी तो वो अपना हिजाब.
आनंद रंगनाथन आपका नाम है?
Navika, now please let me answer. Shoaib bhai, please. Okay. Because these are very serious matters. Yes. They're not frivolous. Navika, you see, every job entails a kind of professionalism to it. For example, a woman cannot be a gymnast wearing a burqa, right? So you cannot force the gymnastic federation that I will start doing floor exercise wearing a burqa. You can't. Some jobs entail a proper uniform. For that there has to be some restrictions, but other than that, I don't see anything wrong in a police woman wearing a hijab.
That is the question. Are we putting some of these jobs beyond what women in hijab may not be allowed to do? Are we keeping these above? And I, as a woman, find this as fetters being put on certain women, whether they are forced to do a hijab, whether they are forced to do a ghungat or a pallu on their head. They take away certain opportunities. Not just that, we go back to the issue of schools. And in schools, a uniform according to me, is absolutely a necessity. Can you imagine a teacher walking into a classroom where there are
Navika,
5 children wearing a hijab? Immediately you are treated as somebody who's different, and that, to my mind, is something that goes against how people should be treated in a classroom.
Is someone wearing a turban not treated differently then? Is someone wearing a turban also seen differently?
Can I just make
Abdul Razak Khan, Abdul Razak Khan.
I just want to make a small submission. Tomorrow, if somebody wants to become a swimmer, while she is swimming, she will wear the swimsuit and swim. Other time, she will wear what she wants. Today, if my sisters are wearing hijab, let them wear hijab. Tomorrow, if they want to do gymnastics, they will remove the hijab and do gymnastics. It is up to their choice.
But are they being allowed that free choice? Rahul Ishwar, are they being allowed that free choice? Zeenat, Shaukat Ali, are they being allowed the free choice, or are they being conditioned? And we come back to the question. When the lawyer itself is arguing, the lawyer himself is arguing on the basis of dignity. What is it that is at stake? Is the attire now being linked to dignity, and is dignity being brought in because that is the conditioning? I want to ask you, Zeenat, Shaukat Ali.
Like hijab,
you see what the gentleman just now said, that if you wear a hijab and she wants to get into gymnastics, then she can always remove the hijab and get into the gymnastics. So then why can't she remove the hijab and get into her class and study like the rest of the children?
Exactly. Rest your case there. Rest your case there. And they say this is deliberately being made into an issue of a great divide, when actually there shouldn't be any. In a school, in a classroom, there is no necessity for a hijab. Outside the classroom, well, women are free to wear what they will. But why is a woman's dignity being linked to the hijab is an objectionable expression that I find. Where do you stand on it, dear viewers? Do write in to us. Thanking my panelists joining me on debate number 1. We move on to